We have to be patient and we
Hmm.
have to go through this process, and it's for your good and it's for this child's good. You'll have that opportunity to bond and connect, to get to know each other, to see if this is good for you and good for them. Because we're out here trying to find families for children, not children for families. There's a difference there. The
Hmm.
goal is to find families for children. So the child comes first. Are you a good fit for this child? Not is this child a good fit for you? It's about that child's needs. So absolutely, absolutely, we take the time to figure that out.
Did you finally realize your dream of having a family, only to have your happily ever after turn into a nightmare? Are you constantly second guessing your parenting, anxious about whether your child will make good choices and remain faithful? Have you neglected yourself to the point that it's taken a personal toll on you? Hi, neighbor. Welcome to Anchors of Encouragement. I'm Tim Maudlin, husband, adoptive parent, disciple of Christ, and ambassador of encouragement. I too felt the joy of having a family of my own, and I wish we could be like other families. But I found myself up late at night, anxious about my child's future and asking myself, why is this happening? Am I a failure as a parent? It was only by grabbing a lifeline from God and my friends that I was able to navigate the challenges of adoptive life. And now I can't wait to share everything I've learned with you. My mission is to be your friend and encourager, to throw adoptive parents a lifeline and offer biblical encouragement as you partner with Christ, providing stability as your anchor when you need it the most. If you're ready for real and raw talk with strategies and insights that lead to peace beyond comprehension, so you not only survive but thrive in life's storms, this podcast is for you. Hope and healing are on the way. Hi, neighbor. Joining me today is my neighbor from Atlanta, Dr. Kimberly Offutt. Dr. Kim is an inspirational speaker, author, child advocate, social worker, and adoptive parent. She has served at Bethany Christian Services for more than 20 years in various capacities in the child welfare field, advocating on behalf of children who are in foster care and available for adoption. Kimberly and her husband have 7 children, 4 adopted from foster care and 6 grandchildren. They currently live in Atlanta. Dr. Kim, it's really a pleasure to have you here today. I'm so thankful you could join us and talk about your adoption journey.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tim. I'm so glad to be here.
And we have a connection, as I shared with you before we began the recording. You work at Bethany Christian Services, and it just so happens that myself and some friends of ours both used Bethany to do our home studies. So
Oh, that's
your
awesome.
organization was very instrumental in us having children. So thank you for that. And that's been over 20 years now, but you guys are doing good work. So I appreciate
Thank
it.
you. Thank you so much.
We talked about, and this is what I was interested in discussing with you today, is that you and your husband have biological children, 3 of those, but you also adopted 4 through the foster care system.
Oh, yeah.
Just for my audience, I think they would like to hear, how did you go about getting to that place where you decided to adopt and especially adopt through the foster care system?
All right, Tim, put your seatbelt on, listeners, as well, because this is a wild story. It really, really is. Wild story, wild ride. Literally moved from Georgia to Michigan. And when I started at Bethany in the state of Michigan, my job, I actually got paid to go to church. I was a recruiter, and the program that I was a recruiter for was called Partners in Prayer. And literally based on James 1:27, my job was to tell the church all about the scripture. Pure and faultless religion is this, to care for the orphan. My
Mhm.
goal was to identify families right there in the church who would be willing to be foster and adoptive parents, right?
Mhm.
And the vision was for these families to be raised up in the church and the church to surround all around them to care for them. Because if one family out of one church could identify one child to adopt, the body of Christ could solve this crisis alone, right?
Mhm.
And so as a recruiter, that was my goal, to recruit families. And I recruited myself first.
Oh, wow.
God
Okay.
has a very unique sense of humor. Before I could recruit one family. He told me, you do it. And I don't know how he talks to you, Tim, but he literally said, baby girl, you do it. You
Mhm.
step into this space and then you share your story. But see, my husband and I always wanted to be foster parents.
Mhm.
um, because we work for the state, we saw too many children come into the system, older kids specifically, struggling to find families who would be willing to foster teens, struggling to find families who would be willing to foster sibling groups. And so to step into this space made sense. But now I was 25 years old, Tim. My brain
Mhm.
wasn't fully formed. My husband was 23 years old. We wasn't even married a year. And God said, you do it. So that's how my journey began. We were not parents. I had never parented a child. So I'm debunking all of those myths and theories about who is the right person. My husband was 23. I was 25. We had just celebrated our first year of marriage. We had no children of our own. So the first child to call me mom was actually a 9-year-old little boy. I learned everything that I needed to know about being a parent from 9-year-old Darius. He's a whole nother story if you want to hear how we actually found him, how he found us.
Oh, wow. I was reading your bio. I just assumed you had biological children first.
Mm-mm.
And then,
No.
sometimes parents are worried about the birth order, so they have the biological first and then they go,
And that's the other thing, when you hear the stories and people tell you if you're going to be an adoptive parent or if you're going to foster, make sure you have all of this experience. Make sure you do this. Don't mess up the birth order. My children that I actually gave birth to
hmm
are 18, 12, and 7. The children that came from my heart, I call them the children of my heart, they are 30, 29, 27, and 19. The very first child to call me mom was 9. He's 29 today. And then we fostered a few children in the meantime through the juvenile justice system. Those kids eventually returned home. And then we
hmm
started adopting. By the time I gave birth to my first biological child, I had already had 3 adoptive children in my home by the time. He knew nothing different. This was family. Of course, we always talked about adoption. And
hmm
as they got older, they understood what that meant. But this was all they knew. There's no birth order in my family, not at all. There's no birth order.
Okay.
And it
Well,
worked.
that's one thing you do here. And
Yeah,
so I'm glad it's possible to do it with disrupting the birth order. So if you want to think of it that way, but yeah, that's
it
cool.
it totally worked for my family. So when I share my story, I feel like we're debunking so many of those myths. We're 23, 25, never parented. But the beautiful thing, if I could speak to those parents out there who say, I haven't raised any children of my own. I don't know. I don't know. Well, guess what? That's great because you're a clean slate and you can learn
hmm
everything you need to learn about caring for this child specifically. Sometimes when you're an experienced family, your expectation is that these children that are entering your home will respond the same way as your
hmm
kids did, right? Because
hmm
you're an excellent parent. You have these things down. This worked with my kid. Why isn't it working with this one? Well, it's not working because these kids have experienced trauma. You
hmm
cannot parent a child who has naturally entered your family, who has a loving relationship with you, who trusts you, who knows you, who came from your womb the same way you would parent a child who's been disrupted from their bio family, who's moved from home to home to home to home. So many different families have cared for them. They don't know you. They don't trust you. They don't believe you when you say you love them. How can you love them? Like all these things. You can't parent them the same way and expect to get the same outcomes. Yeah, it's hard for some families with that experience because
hmm
then they take it personal. What's wrong with me if my
hmm
child is not behaving? What's wrong with me if my child is not responding to me, if they're not bonding to me? You have to do all those things different. I'm sorry, I'm putting on my training hat right now.
No, this is good. This is good.
Yeah.
It made me think, even though my wife and I, we adopted 2 infants,
Hmm.
had them just day after and just a few days after they were born, we still had trauma to deal with. And we had no idea. No idea.
Womb trauma. If
Yeah.
you research that, And and it's the most interesting thing. My middle child was my youngest adoption. He was 2.5 when he joined our family, actually 8 months older than my biological son. So it was kind
Hmm.
of like raising them as twins. And foolish me thought, oh, whatever I'm doing for Caleb, I can do this for Shamar. It's like having twins. This would be great, this will be easy. I just do it twice.
Hmm.
But no, Shamar at 2.5 had been in multiple families, had experienced multiple caregivers, had had that brokenness in attachment. Was he ever diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder? No. But he called me mom when I met him. He would plop in the lap of anybody, he would be the kid that would go with anybody. There was
Hmm.
no stranger danger. Shamar did not have that connection, and he was the hardest child to parent. And you would have thought he's the youngest. He hasn't had all that trauma. If you know anything about neurological, like your brain, like the development of your brain, between the ages of 0 and 3, any trauma a child experienced, even from infancy, 9 months of being in the womb, they hear her heartbeat. They hear her voice. They hear the voices of everyone around them. When the baby comes out, the smell, the sound, all of that. And now you are with this other mother, and it's like, who is this? That
Hmm.
womb trauma. No one talked about that or helped families understand that you're still going to struggle because even though you got this baby from the hospital, there is a break in attachment. So yeah, I can tell you stories upon stories of bonding and attaching and parenting my 2.5, who's now 19. And we have a great relationship today, but it
Hmm.
was hard for many, many years.
I fully understand.
Yeah.
It it's a hard road, and especially if you haven't been told what to expect. That's one of the reasons I talk about it, is so parents can anticipate or
Hmm.
look for some of those signs. And so these conversations are important. I want to get back to the fostering idea that you began with, because when you foster, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't the goal to reunite the child with?
Absolutely.
Okay, so reunification is the goal.
Mhm.
How do you wrap your head around that goal, and also the idea you want to adopt? Did you immediately want to adopt them, or were you just trying to work through the system and get them reunited with their parents?
Okay, so let me answer that question in two parts because I have to separate my story from it
Hmm. Okay.
in order to answer the question for your listeners, and then I'll add my story back. Foster care is intended to be a temporary solution to what should be a temporary problem. We need families who are willing to step into that space of caring for that child and their family because
Hmm.
the goal is always reunification. If you enter this space and your ultimate goal is to adopt, then now you could potentially be preventing the reunification because your focus is not on helping this child and this family come back together. Your focus is I want this child for myself. So I've
Hmm.
seen foster parents cause termination of parental rights because they're not in support of this bio mom or this bio dad. And that's unfortunate.
Hmm.
We need families who recognize that foster care is a temporary solution to a temporary problem. I'm caring for this child. I'm stepping into this space. I could actually be a coach, a support, a trainer, a wraparound support for this bio mom. I can help her learn how to take care of this medically fragile child. I can help her learn how to balance her budget and help her secure employment or help her with any of the homelessness that she's experiencing, or just be a support to her because so many of us need support as parents, as people, as men and women, as children of God. We need each other. We can be
Hmm.
communities of care to these families. So, yes, reunification is always the goal. What made my story separate is my children were already legally available for adoption. So when
Oh,
they
okay.
entered my family, I knew termination of parental rights had already happened. The children that I fostered was through the juvenile justice system. I knew they were going to be with me for 90 days. We were working a goal, helping them get back home. But the kids that we adopted, they had already been in care for years. And they, meaning the state, were looking for an adoptive family. And I knew I was stepping into that space as the adoptive parent.
So when you were recruiting members of the church you were attending, I assume you spelled all this out to them that,
Oh, absolutely.
okay,
Absolutely.
okay.
So as I was going, when I was recruiting specifically in the church, I lived in the state of Michigan. And Michigan, well, every state has one of these databases. It's called the Adoption Exchange. So Michigan's was Michigan Adoption Resource Exchange. If you're out in Georgia, there's a Georgia version of it. There's a Texas version of it. Every state has an adoption exchange. And
Hmm.
on that website, it's a photo listing. Now, they used to print those books, but they don't print them anymore because by the time they print them, it's out of date. Children have been added or have been removed. So it's all virtual now, it's online. But when I started this work, I had this book of 350 kids in the state of Michigan who were available for adoption. And I was going to the church based on James 1:27 saying, pure and faultless religion is this, to care for the orphan. These were modern day orphans. They
Hmm.
had no family. They had no resource. Yes, they have biological parents whose rights have been terminated, so they cannot safely return home. We need families to step into this space. So I was sharing more about adoption and the need for those families to step into space to care for these children. And also acknowledging that adoption doesn't end at the age of 18. So we have kids who were legally available for adoption who were 14, 15, 16, and they wanted and desired families. If you
Hmm.
know anything about parenting, parenting doesn't stop once they turn 18. My adult kids right now are there's something else. Parenting adult children is something else. But
Hmm.
it doesn't stop at 18. Our job doesn't end.
I tell friends, I tell my boys, I'm not done.
Yeah.
I'm not done. Help me understand
Mhm.
when you have children who the parental rights have been terminated and you try to connect them with these parents who are going to adopt them. Is it a given that it's going to end in adoption, or do they go through some kind of a period of time where they see if they're compatible? I don't know. How does that work?
Every child story is unique. And it really
Hmm.
depends on the child's needs, the child's any diagnoses, their current placement, all the things when it comes to recruiting a particular family for this particular child and how long that process takes. So I
Hmm.
can give you an example of a child that I'll never forget. She was actually 9 years old and she was in a residential facility. If you know anything about residential facilities, let me pause and say this. Yeah.
Hmm.
Shift changes every 8 hours. Staff are taking care of these kids. They're pretty much locked down facilities. Lights are out at nine
Hmm.
o'clock. You have bathroom privileges. There concrete walls, concrete ceilings. I mean, they have playtime. They have a phone call on Saturdays. It sounds like prison. Like, so our kids, and we're trying to move away from congregate care and be able to get children in families.
Hmm.
Psalm 68, 5 and 6, that keeps coming back to me. A father to the fatherless, a defender of widows is God in his holy dwelling. God sets the lonely in families, not residential facilities. So we
Hmm.
need families who are willing to step up to care for those kids. Just throw that out there. But she was 9 and she was in a residential facility. And this 9-year-old little girl, the reason why she was in a residential facility is because the only touch that she ever knew was a sexual touch. Let that sit in. 5 years old is when she was removed from her family of origin. And literally, the family that stepped forward for her to care for her needed to learn how to keep her safe, how to keep other children around her safe, and how to learn how to parent. And they were green, had never parented
Hmm.
before, and they were the best fit for her. Think about all these things that I just shared with you. Do you think that child came and lived with them within a weekend or a month or two? It was a year worth of a process. She was in a residential care facility. The family visited with her. The family got involved in her treatment care. Her treatment team was able to be a part of her counseling and therapy, was able to slowly transition her into
Mm-hmm.
living outside of the residential facility into their home. They started with day visits and visiting her in her facility, her visiting them at their home, day visits to maybe overnights to weekends. And it literally progressed over, it was about 9 months before
Okay.
she eventually moved in full time. That's extreme.
Mm-hmm.
Some doesn't take that long, depending on that child's needs, that child's care. It doesn't happen overnight. I tell families who want to adopt, just like you would carry a child for 9 months, have 9 months in your head. That way, if it was 6 months, you're good. If it was 9 months, you're good. There's no rush because God has a time and a season for everything. That's an X. We have to be patient and we
Mm-hmm.
have to go through this process, and it's for your good and it's for this child's good. You'll have that opportunity to bond and connect, to get to know each other, to see if this is good for you and good for them. Because we're out here trying to find families for children, not children for families. There's a difference there. The
Mm-hmm.
goal is to find families for children. So the child comes first. Are you a good fit for this child? Not is this child a good fit for you? It's about that child's needs. So absolutely, absolutely, we take the time to figure that out.
And I'm glad you phrased it that way too, because I know when we went through our home study and background checks and all that, we had to be vetted that we would be good parents,
Mhm.
or at least hopefully good parents, that type of thing. But sometimes for whatever reason, maybe it's the trauma the child's been involved with or whatever or exposed to, the child doesn't connect with those parents, do they? I mean, maybe that's an extreme situation, but I've seen it happen too.
Mhm. I've seen it happen. I've experienced it myself for years. I mentioned to you about my 2.5-year-old, who is 19 now. Do you know when the connection finally happened for us? He was 17.
Oh my. Wow.
17 before it clicked,
Hmm.
before finally something clicked. And now my boy is out on his own, living his best life, but he calls his mom. And I'm able to talk with him and laugh with him, and we can be free. But it was hard for a lot of years, a lot of years. So, absolutely. One thing that I tell families, I really feel like, yes, there are some extreme circumstances where I've seen families make the very hard decision to pull out, to disrupt, because this is not working. In those situations, what I would love to see is families making that decision because they have determined that this child needs more than they can offer. You know,
Hmm.
there have been times
Right.
like that when some mental health situations or safety has become an issue, or all the things, this child needs a higher level of care than a typical average family with a little bit of education, a lot of love, and a lot of training can offer them. Those situations, absolutely, it makes sense. But sometimes I see families so willing to throw in the towel because of their needs aren't getting filled.
Hmm.
That's when I struggle because the reality is we're not here to fulfill your need. This is about this child's need. So if there's any brokenness or any trauma that you too may have experienced, what I love about God is He has this way of healing our hearts while we're healing others as well. So I say that in that way because I've learned so much from my children. When I told you my 9-year-old, I learned everything from him about parenting, but I learned about me. I learned that I still had mommy issues
Hmm.
from my 9-year-old child who looked at me one day, head cocked to the side, and he said, "Are you happy being a mom?" He was 9.
Wow.
I learned about the fact that there was this pride in me this pride in my education and in my knowledge and what I thought I knew about myself. And then parenting my son, parenting my daughter revealed that Kim had some work to do. Kim had some heart work to do,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't give up. I couldn't just throw in the towel because guess what? Now I'm causing more trauma, more harm to this child and me too. Because what God put together, he knew that Kim had issues. He knew that Kim had work, to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he used this to bring all these things, all things work together for the good.
Mm-hmm.
So my encouragement to any family right now that's in the struggle, don't give up. See it through. He's already gone before you. He's already worked all of this out. Pray for the people who will wrap around and support you. Pray for your child. Continue to pray about that brokenness that you may even see in yourself. Surrender your pride. Lay yourself down at your feet. I'm telling you, this is ministry.
Mm-hmm.
It's ministry. So any family who steps into this saying, well, I just want to parent, I just want to love a child. No, what you really want to do is start your ministry at home. That's what you're doing. You're starting your ministry at home, and it's not easy. You're a soldier in the Lord. You have to put on the breastplate and all that other stuff for a reason, right? You got to
Mm-hmm.
arm yourself with the spirit. You got to charge your feet. You, this is not playtime. This is
No.
war.
Yeah.
We're battling for families and for children. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to go off on that tangent, Tim, but I'm so passionate about making sure our families know what they're stepping into and they're called and they're equipped for it and they're ready to fight for their children, fight for their lives, fight for this ministry, fight for their hearts, fight for their relationship with Christ. And it's not easy.
You've described our journey. It's not been easy. And, I've said to both boys, said, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not giving up.
I don't want to divert too much, just to say this, though, that the circumstances that put both of these boys in our family, there is no other explanation that I can understand except that it's God. God put these boys in our family for a reason. And as you said, it teaches you about yourself,
Mhm.
but you just have to be ready to do the hard.
There's a film that's coming out next month,
Mm-hmm.
July 4th, The Sound of Hope, the story of Possum Trot. Have you
Mm-hmm.
heard about it? Have you
Oh, I've heard
listened
about
to
it.
it?
Angel Studios.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let me tell you a quick story about the film. My journey began 20 years ago
Okay.
with Partners in Prayer, James 1:27. Guess whose story I was telling the church about? Reverend Martin and Lady Donna Martin. My story began with their story. Out there in Possum Trot, Texas, they adopted 4 kids from the state of Texas child welfare system and empowered their itty bitty little church, Bennett Chapel, to do the same. 22 families adopted 77 kids from that one little community in that one little church. And for me to have this full circle moment now, that now I'm in the film, I'm a background actress in the film, so you'll see me in some of the church scenes. I wrote a companion piece to the film to really equip the church, equip the families who step forward,
Mm-hmm.
equip them to walk into this space and to now see this story on the big screen. And it's so real and it's so raw. It's a film that when I think about sharing the journey of being a foster parent and adoptive parent, I've never been as real and as raw as this film is. It tells you the God's honest truth of the hard. When you leave here, you leave that film, you're going to be inspired, you're going to be encouraged, you're going to be broken, you're going to want to do something. You're going to want to step into this space. And there's so many ways that you can. Some of us aren't called to be foster and adoptive parents, and that's okay. But you can support those families. You can step in and care for those families. You can bring meals. You can help with bedding. You can help with clothes. You can be mentors. You can be a volunteer to wrap around and ensure that that family has the care that they need. You can be a listening ear. You can come and hug on some kids. You can Instead of sending children away when you need respite, you can bring families in, and now you, parent, go away. You can do these types of things to support families if you're not that foster and adoptive parent. But if God has been tugging on your heart and have been talking to you over these years, I think this is what I want you to do. You're going to be ready to move into action after seeing this film. So get ready. It's not something that you're going to watch with popcorn and candy. So I'm just going to let you know, don't even waste your money on the popcorn and candy. You're not going to be able to eat it when you're watching this film.
Well, I usually end these interviews with a daily doable, and I think you just gave the daily doable with how you can be an anchor of encouragement for these families who have it in their hearts to parent these children, and provide these families for them. So that was one of the things I wanted to ask, and you've really touched on it, is how we can be supportive of these families, because I know in our case we needed support and we got it. We got it. And those people are our dearest friends to this day, because they were there for us when it got hard. And so I'm glad you touched on some of those things and really help us understand this journey. And God bless you and what you've done and what you're continuing to do to help these kids who just need someone to give them a chance and give them a home. So this is great discussion. So as we wrap up, how can people contact you or become aware of the services you offer at Bethany?
Well, you can reach us at bethany.org.
Mm-hmm.
You can always call us at 1-800-BETHANY. We have a support center right now. So if you ever have any questions, someone will be on the phone with you within seconds. But definitely bethany.org. You can reach us there.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story and what you're doing, and just encourage people to listen to their hearts and see if God is tugging on you to pursue this path. Full understanding it's going to be hard, but it is worth it. And that's been our experience. It's hard, but it is rewarding, and it's really loving like God wants you to love. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Tim.
I hope you were as inspired by Dr. Kim's story as much as I was. Here are a few of the takeaways. Number 1, children who have experienced trauma behave differently from those who haven't, and therefore require different parenting approaches. Number 2, foster care is intended to be a temporary solution to what should be a temporary problem. The goal is always reunification. Number 3, when parental rights have been terminated, the focus is to find families that fit the needs of the child, rather than finding children that fit the needs of the family. The child comes first. And number 4, not everyone is called to be a foster or adoptive parent, and that's okay, but everyone can play a supportive role. If you would like a safe place and judgment-free zone to share your adoption story with other adoptive parents, I would like to invite you to become a member of our free Facebook community, Anchors of Encouragement. You're not alone. We're on this journey together. Please see the show notes for a link to join. That's all for this episode. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, this is Tim encouraging you to do what you can now. If this podcast has given you the courage and confidence to face storms in your life, the number one way you can thank me is to leave a written review on Apple Podcasts. Tell a friend about the show. Take a screenshot of this episode and share it in your Instagram stories and tag me at Tim Maudlin. You can also connect with me in my Facebook group, Anchors of Encouragement. So until next time, this is Tim encouraging you to do what you can now.